You want to see the words that inspired me to build the Omega car? When the politician ticked me off because I knew he was full of crap and would never do it?
I'll help our auto companies retool so that the fuel-efficient cars of the future are built right here in America.
You sounded like you were trying to be Kennedy and going to the moon within 10 years, and that didn't happen. But I figured I could do it. Young people try to destroy priceless works of art as well as vintage Ferraris in the name of a better environment. Are these global activists protesters or low-grade terrorists? I'm Casey Putsch. I designed the Omega car. I'm also going to offer up doing something with the Omega car to the people that are climate and global activists, as well as sensible people here on the right, such as Mike Rowe, Ben Shapiro, and Jordan Peterson. What's up, people? Well, today we're going to be talking about climate protesters, and I'm going to come out and say my opinion on something as the creator of the high-efficiency recyclable concept car, the Omega car, because this frankly relates to the automotive world, at least in a small portion, because one of these so-called climate protesters, or a number of them actually, I believe a French motor show damaged a lot of vintage Ferraris. So let's look at that. Let's look at these protesters here. So I'm just typing this into Google, the climate protesters. Top stories, you got these two young people throwing tomato sauce on a Van Gogh and then gluing their hands to the wall. Now, my reaction to this was one of eye rolling initially. Then the next thing is there were some German young people who threw mashed potatoes at a Monet and then also glued their hands to the wall. And if you go further, climate activists occupy BlackRock headquarters on third day of New York protests. And it's going on and on. But what's even more astonishing than this, and I heard this from a number of the people, subscribers of my channel and whatnot, we got some people here at the Paris Motor Show, and there's a number of Ferraris here. It looks like a red Ferrari Mondial Cabriolet, a 360 Modena, that looks like a 430, and they put black paint all over them, held up signs, and then glued their hands to these vintage Ferraris. So let's talk about that, and let's talk about these protesters and if they're being effective or not, and what is their message exactly. I gotta tell you what, I don't really feel like this is the best type of way to change the future for the better. And I'm going to use myself as an example, which means I'll probably be opened up to attack. A good number of years ago, more than 10 years ago now, a very prominent politician pissed me off because I knew the words he was saying were complete bullcrap. It was about the automotive industry and how are they going to make things better. And you know, I'm surrounded by cars of history here. A lot of interesting things, a lot of them unusually built. But most cars today are just stamped steel boxes that are highly inefficient, too difficult to afford, and they, like the industrialized world, are built on steel and powered by oil. And I always thought that was kind of lame, but it was more lame from the sake of manufacturing and just how wasteful it was. So about 10 years ago now, I came up with the idea and concocted the idea for what I call the Omega car to create a more sustainably recyclable car that would be highly fuel efficient, or just efficient, of course, in the case of if it was electrically powered, and be better for people and cheaper all the way around, less environmental impact, etc. And I built the car, called the Omega car. Now, my prototype I powered by diesel, just straight diesel, non-hybrid, because it's easier for people to understand miles to the gallon and how efficient or fast something is versus having a battery-powered car or hybrid. Now, that being said, my concept relates to the manufacturing and make it sustainably recyclable with less environmental impact. So naturally, the Omega car just represents a conceptualized thinking that you can create numbers of different manufacturing techniques and materials to make something better for people and the world and the environment, regardless of what it's powered by in the world. So I put my money where my mouth is and created a car from the ground up, which is actually sitting right over there right now. But I bring that up because I got pissed off by a politician and everything going on in the world, and I did something constructive about it. Now, I've also done that another time with Genius Garage, which is a nonprofit I created. And the reason being is I hated my college education. I think it was garbage. I don't think there were any good leaders or mentors or the ability to get you on your way. And after many years of fighting to make my way in the world, I was mentoring young engineers who didn't know how to fabricate or do anything else. And I thought to myself, sitting around a shop similar to this, gosh, if I'm going to be involved with cars and airplanes and no interesting people, I ought to do it in a way that matters for the future rather than fun. So of course the concept for Genius Garage was created. That was about 10 years ago now. And it changed a lot of lives. A lot of young people, because of their time in Genius Garage, in conjunction with their traditional university efforts and their other educational efforts, but largely because of Genius Garage, they're working at Tesla, GM, Fiat Chrysler, Dana, Goodyear, you name it. So across the board, it's made a difference and it's really mattered. That was 10 years ago. I did that at the detriment of my own life. And I have so many thousands of volunteer hours doing just that I've qualified for and gotten a Lifetime Achievement Award from President Trump and now President Biden's administration through the Points of Life thing. Yeah, 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards. That's how much work I put into trying to make the world better in a constructive way. But before that, when I was a kid, I used to volunteer to rehab wildlife. You name it, foxes, ducks, deers, helping them, the ones that are injured, educating the public, teaching them. And it goes further. My parents just cared. And I always cared about making the future better. Even my grandfather cared about people and making the future better. But we put effort in to make something constructive for the betterment of the future. So let's come back to these protesters. They go into the Paris Auto Show. And from what I can tell, they weren't picking on a manufacturer like Ferrari. This appears to be just a kind of a run-of-the-mill sort of display of, I would say, some private collectors and enthusiasts' private cars. These aren't even that expensive of Ferraris as Ferraris go. The 430 maybe is worth 130 grand. The 360s, I don't know, 90 grand. The Mondial, because it's convertible, I can't tell which engine it is, but let's say 50 to 65. They're not really destroying that much, probably because they didn't have the cojones to go up against the real Ferrari display and do it. But actually, I'm going to take this moment and say, this is just dumb. These are more so-called climate activists destroying artwork, because Ferrari is not the problem with the world. There's hardly any Ferraris. You never see them driving around. Those aren't the things that are being destroyed. Or is it that you guys are attacking super expensive artworks and Ferraris because you're also trying to make a statement about class and pick on the wealthy? That's probably my guess, but you did it kind of badly with these Ferraris because these are cheap Ferraris. I know that because actually I just bought a Ferrari Mondial because I appreciate the craftsmanship and the artwork and the history and the culture of Italy that created it. And I figured because it was a cheap 4-seat Ferrari, that would be a nice way for me to enjoy the automotive culture with my family and little daughter as she ages. So it's sort of funny because, you know, I'm a Ferrari owner too now. Let's do this though. I'm going to read 2 definitions for you. The first definition: a statement or action expressing disapproval of or objection to something. Protest. Okay. So I guess in a statement what their actions were protests. They don't like oil, I guess. That's what they're saying. Yeah. Even though the entire civilized world is fueled by oil and built on steel. You ever heard the names Carnegie and Rockefeller? Okay. So if you just want to stop it all, that's kind of like saying defund the police. You're just going to destroy civilization either way. So here's another definition for you. A person who uses unlawful violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political aims. Now the definition of that is terrorist. That seems somewhat more accurate, or at least one that relates perfectly to what's going on. So let's say it's a protest, but also you guys are using unlawful destruction of property, violence, definitely intimidation to people that have nice things against civilians, society, and all that. But that's the word they don't want to use. They want to use activist. They want these people to be heroes, even though they're just a bunch of kids with no plan who have done nothing with their life constructively to make the world better, just to make the world better. So they destroy property because they want to say, oh, get rid of oil right now. Let's change the environment. Let's make it all better. Fairy tales and lollipops. Now, the thing about it is, yeah, you guys are protesters, but you're also low-grade terrorists destroying things just to make a point. Now, I don't know if these people have a political agenda or they're just poor, misguided souls. But if they are poor, misguided souls, those poor souls will be used by others for political agenda. I don't like that. You know, if for no other reason, let's say I don't like it from a selfish reason, because I like art, I like craftsmanship, I like society, civilization, and cultures. I said cultures plural. All cultures around the world, I appreciate the good and beautiful things they have. So no, I don't like it when anybody tries to destroy some of the best artwork in the world, whether that's a vintage Ferrari or a painting. I think that's pretty stupid. In fact, actually, part of my academic background was in fine art. Stupid. And that's the reaction from most of society, idiots and stupid. Because what did you accomplish other than inciting more violence? Were you just trying to get clickbait headlines for the algorithm? I would say so. But what have you done? Did you put your own time and life in to try to develop a new sustainably recyclable car? Probably not. Did you sink 10 years of your life into helping others get jobs because the American educational system or any educational system out there just basically preys upon loans, student loans that you can't default on so they can dilute down their educational experience? Do things that are the easiest and keep going with the system that really doesn't help the best succeed or anybody get anywhere? No. But I did. You didn't see me 10 years ago before I did that car or work on something educational, just trying to help people, burning down a university, spray painting things, destroying things. You didn't see me doing it. You didn't see me attacking automotive manufacturers or politicians. No. Because I took some responsibility for how I felt I could make the world better, and I worked to try to make it better. That's it. I'm not saying I'm better, but I'm saying there's two different trains of thought here. And for everybody out there that's now watching this, I urge you to think about this. What have they done other than stir the pot? I think it's fair to say everybody on the planet who's not mentally ill would like to see the planet and the environment be healthier. I know I would. I spent my entire childhood rehabbing wild animals. I still care about animals. I could be busting around in a car and see a poor baby turtle like I did this year in the spring, and help the thing across the road. Doesn't mean much, nobody cares, doesn't change the world, but it's something little. I actually care, and I bet all of you do too. But here's the problem with the so-called protesters, or let's call a spade, these low-grade terrorists. They make many people no longer care about their plight or the environment. They are being more destructive for a good cause than just that. They are becoming the political pawns of people trying to use an agenda to get power, because that's how human nature actually works. Pathetic. Because I care a little bit less, but then I smack myself and go, no. Just because these people are fools doesn't mean that I and we don't do something actually better, constructive for the betterment of the future. Can we change everything overnight or right now? No, not at all. But we can change it a little bit at a time for the betterment. See, the problem I have with so-called protesters and people like this is they're looking for instant fame off the algorithms. TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, well, for boomers, right? YouTube, Reddit, that's what you're trying to do. Because the fact of the matter is that the algorithms love controversy. And nowadays, you can just virtue signal and be a hero overnight for trying to tear somebody else down. You know, you've done nothing with your life, as can be seen from troll commenters who have no feedback or videos and don't use the real name when they try to say something negative. So what's more noble? People that have done nothing trying to destroy something in the name of trying to make something better they've done nothing with in their life? Or somebody who's actually worked their whole life to try to make things better and put themselves out there with their real name in a constructive way and stand up against stupidity? Okay, so let's give the protesters a chance to be actually noble. Now, let me go back on here and see, what their names are or whatever, what their group is. There's some activist groups, I guess. Something was called like the Extinction Rebellion. Okay, yeah, great. Extinction Rebellion. Okay, that's cool. Okay, your name. Let me dial the snark back. Okay. So you guys are destroying a lot of things now, and that's how you're getting noticed. Tell you what, The one thing I've never done with my Omega car is go on a tour of the United States. Now, here's where I've gotten it. It works, it runs, it does all that. And I figured originally when I built a recyclable car and make it a sports car, because unfortunately Western society doesn't really care how brilliant something is unless it's pretty or a little bit sexy, so that's why I made it a sports car. I wanted it to out-accelerate my old gas-guzzling Dodge Viper, but I wanted it to get over 100 miles to the gallon. And it pulls pretty hard. I think it'll demolish the Dodge Viper. It's very fast. And the just initial run around the countryside I did, where I was not trying to get good fuel mileage, I was stopping and starting and idling and going fast and going slow, all the things you don't do for good fuel mileage. Got something like 80 miles to the gallon, 80 something, without even trying. So I'm pretty sure we'll get over 100 miles to the gallon. So tell you guys what, if you guys are legit, hit me up. I'm not hard to find. Why don't you get behind something constructive for the future? Something actually constructive. Because if we all had sustainably recyclable cars that were cheaper with less environmental impact to create, which were highly more fuel efficient or required lots less electricity if they were electric or hybrid or however it is that you want to power them with these techniques, that would solve the problems, wouldn't it? Hit me up, because I just called you out. You guys just trying to leverage some little low-grade terrorism for political gain, or do you want to do something for real? I want to do something for real. I like to be constructive. Okay, so I just offered this up to a bunch of what appears to be, don't hate me, alt-left kind of very aggressive, mean stuff going on. So I offered it up to the very left, very green, very young, whatever these groups are. So it's only fair for me to do it to the right as well. So off the top of my head, I'm going to try to think of a couple of names out there. How about Mike Rowe? Remember him? Dirty Jobs? Championing people working with their hands, taking responsibility, making things better and working together. I'm sure he does podcasts and things like that. Hey, Mike, dead serious. Want to talk about the Omega car, do something together? Want to talk about helping young people in industry and engineering and working with your own two hands and making your way in society? I offer that up to you. Also, two other more right-wing related things to make it fair. How about Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson? Whoa! Oh, I'm going to start a war, aren't I? Well, it's very interesting. Ben is classically conservative values and not afraid to argue it. Probably the best person I've ever seen at debating. I would never want to have to debate against him. Yeah, he's got a lot to say, clearly. And Jordan Peterson, fascinating person. Fascinating. From Canada. Pegged to be very, very conservative, but based upon society's massive shift of the spectrum, actually I think the guy's pretty center. Based upon him and psychology and all his studies of philosophy the world over, when he gives the devil his due and calls a spade and everything he does, pretty centered guy. Would love to talk about that with him, the psychology behind it, possibilities for the future, and also I believe he is wanting to create something in the future for education, which is far less costly and more reasonable to solve all the problems with the educational system right now. And gosh, it's almost like I know somebody that's been doing that for the last 10 years in art, design, and engineering. Me. So maybe we can do something cool there. So I don't know where this is going to go, guys. It's the horrific football rivalry match of our time. Left versus right. Or maybe we can all just be constructive people. And the people that have actually been trying hard and creating something of value for the future could be championed instead of people just destroying it for clickbait. But then again, that might require changing the algorithms for the better good of society and not using the algorithms to prey upon all the negative characteristics of the human psyche to keep us all addicted to the media. You know, maybe we should touch grass. So I realize some of this is political. Oh, let's make it more political for fun. You want to see the words that inspired me to build the Omega car? When the politician ticked me off because I knew he was full of crap and would never do it?
I'll help our auto companies retool so that the fuel-efficient cars of the future are built right here in America.
Yeah, I knew he was full of crap and it wouldn't happen. Let's bail out the car companies. Next thing you know, oh, great, big trucks. And then big SUVs classified as light trucks. So they don't have extra tax on gas guzzling, and big muscle cars, which are cool, but aren't going to save the planet or the world, and frankly are very expensive for people to be able to afford. You know, I clearly like things that go fast, but that's not what you said you were going to do, guy. You sounded like you were trying to be Kennedy and going to the moon within 10 years, and that didn't happen. But I figured I could do it. So what do y'all have to say right now? That was the guy on the left that was supposed to be super green and making stuff happen, and I'm the guy that seemingly is conservative or just like normal American and tries to help people and do things and, you know, try to help people and do things. So that's it. Honestly, by definition, the so-called climate protesters, sure, you're protesters, but you're also definitely terrorists, low-grade ones. Maybe don't kill people. Maybe stop destroying things of civilization that are really nice, that actually have nothing to do with oil or climate change, you idiots. Okay, I was being a little negative, but seriously, that's bad action. But if you guys want to do something positive, hit me up. Let's do something positive. If you want to attack me, get a life. But that's it. Also, Mike Rowe, Ben Shapiro, and Jordan Peterson, serious as a heart attack. Love to connect. A lot of respect. At the very least, of your ability to articulate and argue is pretty impressive. And if these very left people, sorry, that's your left. These very left people are going to do that, I'm going to offer it. Got to offer it to the conservative crowd too. Oh God, I wonder what's going to happen. You know, I got to tell you what, guys. You're probably like, this will be on Reddit. Casey Putsch explodes his channel, destroys everything. I don't care, you guys. Cancel me if you want to. I would have a lot less. I just go away. Like, why can't we just make the future better and not be terrible to people? You know, the entire PC culture and all of that could have just been solved with just don't be a dick to other people. Oh, man. Well, I guess that's talking too much sense and the world just likes to fight. That's the sad thing is because that is being perpetuated by social media. So I think it's us to find the interpersonal responsibility to evolve past those negative human traits and do something creative for the world. I think I should get out the Omega car this year. See just how efficient I can make it. Maybe you guys want to do that. Yeah, I don't know. Share it, whatever. I don't think they're protesters. I think they're low-grade terrorists, and I think they should really stop destroying nice things because the world's stopping caring about their demands or beliefs. It's kind of silly, kind of a lot silly. I don't think that's the right way to change the future. Let's be constructive together. See you guys next time. One of the biggest challenges of the collector car and motorcycle world is simply enclosed shipping. I found a company called Diamond 7. They transported my prized 1931 Buick Phaeton and most recently my MV Agusta motorcycle I always wanted. They take incredible detailed pictures of your vehicle before it leaves so you know exactly and gives the comfort that they care. But more than that, I get real-time GPS tracking of the actual truck that my vehicle is on. Guys, Diamond 7. Go down in the description below, find the contact. You can try somebody else, but trust me, after 20 years, Diamond 7's the one to do.